Hey friends, it's about a week until my next Meta dance party, which will be in Brooklyn. It'll be on my birthday. Would love to have you there if you can make it. And I thought this would be a good occasion to talk about what I mean by mettawave. I wrote a post about this, I believe in the fall of 2021. So it's nearly been 4 years now that I've been thinking about this. Certainly 4 years that I've been thinking about it, and nearly 4 years that I've been talking about it publicly. I started doing a lot of loving kindness with dance that year. I was getting really into dance music, into EDM, into trance, progressive trance, and just listening to a lot of it and finding out what songs I liked and which artists I liked, which labels I liked, and really developing taste. And I was also going out and dancing. I would dance in parks. There was a park near my parents' house at the time that I was going to a lot. I was sort of in between, when this first started, I was really in between leaving the monastery and starting my pilgrimage. And I was staying with my folks, and I would just go to the shipyard in Hingham where I grew up and dance pretty much every day. And that period is what the video that you may have seen, Your Tasha and Loving the Universe, is based on. And it's actually shot in that area. So you can kind of see what it looked like. And I wanted to show people with that video what my experience was like doing this practice. And I really loved it. It just made me happy. I loved the music. I loved the metta. I loved getting outside. I loved moving my body. I loved dancing. It was just bringing me a lot of joy. It still does. I don't currently dance every day. Might be another season for that sometime, but music brings me such joy, and dancing brings me such joy, and combining it with metta brings me such joy. And so, I wasn't the first person ever to think of this. It's been around for a while. Having love in your heart while you dance, that's part of a lot of dance cultures, but really making it a practice. And certainly, I never had a Buddhist meditation teacher that was like, hey, how about instead of sitting every day, you go and dance and turn on Spotify and put in your headphones and just do metta while you dance. I never had a teacher that said that to me. But because I'd done metta practice, it became obvious, I could do it in these circumstances. And not only can I do it, it's actually much more enjoyable for me than a lot of seated formal practice, especially if formal seated practice is kind of like a daily thing that a lot of my 20s, as I've talked about before, I was like forcing myself to meditate every day. And that coercion was just not feeling good emotionally, psychologically, physically, on any level. Whereas I didn't have to force myself to do metta and to dance. And so I was doing a lot of it and developing my taste. And there were certain tracks that I really liked, that really resonated for me, and certain subgenres that really felt like they fit. And I had an occasion that summer to do a dance party with the Stoa on Zoom. That was the first metta dance party I ever hosted. It was not in person yet. My first one that I did in person was the following year at Vibe Camp, the first Vibe Camp in Austin in March of 2022. But I just had a sense, these kinds of tracks go well with metta. My friend Hormiz helped me with the one on the Stoa. Still grateful to him for that. But I was starting to develop a sense of what worked and what didn't. And, some dance tracks are great. Like, I love certain dance tracks, but they're just not a fit for that specific type of practice. It's kind of jarring. It's frictional. It's like as if you were sitting down to do concentration meditation while there's like really intense construction sounds that are sort of grating nearby. It's like, well, you can do that. You can learn to concentrate with intense auditory stimulus, but it's like grating, and it's frictional. So I started to develop a sense of what kinds of songs worked well, or that I enjoyed or really felt resonant. And, this is a matter of taste. For someone else, a different track might work just fine, but I had a sense of what I was looking for. And as I became clear about what I liked, it became obvious that those tracks were actually kind of rare. And even there was sort of a gap in what I was looking for. And so on the one hand, I guess there were three requirements. One was it just had to sound good. It had to be like really good dance music. There's a lot of dance music, and a lot of it is perfectly fine. And then there's really good dance music where you're like, oh, this is on another level. And I know what those tracks are. I could name, 5, 10, 15 tracks that I'm like, this is an incredible dance track. If you play this, not only will my body be moving, but everybody's body will be moving. This just sounds so good. Those are rare. There are also just a lot of very good, high quality, excellent dance tracks where it's like, okay, this is not the best dance track ever made, but it's very good. So it just has to be aesthetically pleasing, right? In and of itself, it has to be high quality, excellent. And then it has to sort of fit the mood of, hey, this is positive and loving and supportive of doing loving kindness practice. There's a lot of incredible dance tracks that are just, very dark or very thick or aggressive or something like that. And some of those I squeeze in by imagining that they're more of a compassion track that can kind of work. But typically the default is sort of like light, playful, fun, like major key type stuff. Or even if there's a bit of melancholy, like it's hopeful, it's upbeat, it's got energy to it, it's inspiring. That the tone sort of fits the practice. And then, very importantly, the lyrics, if there are lyrics, which there may not be, if there are lyrics, they need to fit the vibe of loving kindness, and even ideally have references to love, loving kindness, the heart, the path of the heart, the Brahma Viharas. That's rare. That's rare. There are tracks like that, but they're rare. What's much more common is tracks that are about romantic love, and then within that, there are ones that work really well where there's just a few references to love, and you can kind of like mentally, psychologically replace the context of romantic love with the Brahma Viharas and metta and loving kindness, the path of the heart more broadly. And then there are ones where it's like, a lot about heartbreak or, true love or whatever. And I mean, I love those songs. Don't get me wrong. I am a romantic 100%. I love those songs, but they're just not a great fit for this either. You can remove these days the lyrics or the vocal tracks with AI tools pretty easily. So sometimes I'll do that. But finding songs with those three qualities where it's like excellent music, where the vibe of the sounds fits and then the lyrics also fit, very difficult. It's more common to find excellent songs where it's just instrumental and the vibe of the instrumental track fits. That's much easier to find. But there was sort of this desire that I had to have tracks that fit all three, where it's like, that's a really good track. It fits the vibe. I could play it at a metta dance party, and the lyrics, if there are any, are just perfect. It actually actively reminds you to practice love, to have love for all beings, to have love in your heart, to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others, messages like this. And from there, I was like, oh, I should help bring this about. And so I gave it a name. I sort of planted a flag in the ground and said, let's call this mettawave and let's do this. And I will put my time and effort towards making tracks that fit this. And it's been a journey. At first I was just getting accustomed to figuring out which songs I liked. And then I spent, a year and a half learning to DJ and something like that. Just the basics. I'm not the world's best DJ, but enough that I can take my kit and go run a dance party that people will find enjoyable. And then over the last year and a half or so, I've been learning music production and learning Ableton Live and collaborating with people and learning to make music that I'm really proud of that fits these qualities. That's what Heartkiss is all about, is by default anyway, making songs and tracks that fit really well at metta dance parties with this intention. And we make some other music too. We get experimental, we get playful, we have fun with it. But the primary intention is to make mettawave music that fits these qualities. And, it's music. So just like any other artistic thing, there's lots of subgenres, and the taxonomy is sort of a second order task rather than actually just making the music and enjoying the music and listening to the music and dancing to the music. So the stuff that we make is often different than I expected or surprises me or is bending genres. And I love that. I've come to really love that. But that's the intention, is to have love music, to make love music. That's what Heart Kiss is all about. That's a project of the Love Department of the Service Guild that I do primarily with Aspen, and then we invite in other collaborators in to make specific tracks. So that's been the journey. A big step in there actually was when I was learning to DJ. This was such a level up, was when I learned to DJ, even just the basics, there were kind of two immediate levels up. One is that I could do the transitions on my own. Before that, I'd been using Spotify playlists, and those are fine for track selection, but the transitions just aren't great. You can change the settings there, but having a default transition state means that there's just not going to be very artful transitions. And I really loved that when I was falling in love with music, how things like Anjuna Beats had really high quality mixed tracks where they would fade into each other, and it was this really seamless experience. Or sets, of course, DJ sets, where it's like, yeah, it's this whole, almost this whole live album that's being made, and it just flows one into the other, and it's not just this like pause in between, or, you know, it's just a default 10-second transition or whatever. But then the other big level up was being able to use my own samples, and I've gotten even better at this over time. But just taking, for example, an instrumental track and layering on a specific sample, whether it's from a movie or a Dharma talk or like a voice message that a friend sent me or something, so powerful, so powerful. It just really levels it up. And that's when we started doing that, it was like, that's just a game changer, is to have these really excellent tracks, but then there are specific curated intentions that are layered on top. So good. And you can hear my sets, they're on SoundCloud. I also post the playlists on Spotify, but with the SoundCloud ones, you can actually hear how I use the samples and how they transition into each other. You can also get Heart Kiss's music on either Spotify or SoundCloud, and you can download them. They have Creative Commons licenses on them. They're attribution, non-commercial, share alike, so you can't sell them, but as long as you attribute them to us and use the same license, you can do a lot of different stuff with them. But yeah, that's been the vision, is like make music that's really good for practicing with loving kindness, and specifically for metta dance parties. And it's just been such a joy. Just classic textbook definition of a fun service project. Also very Taschen shaped. I talk about this word U-shaped in the empowerment department. The word U-shaped is actually like a variable word where you should insert your own name. So if your name is George and you're watching this, you should be George shaped. If your name is Julia and you're watching this, it should be Julia shaped. But this is just a classic Taschen shaped project where it's fun for me. I really believe a benefit to the world because it inspires people to do loving kindness practice and in a fun, joyful way. And it sort of fits my strengths. And it's still early days. It's still really early days. I've only been making this music for a year or so myself. And I've only had this dream for about 4 years now. And I foresee doing this indefinitely. We'll see, of course. Life has its own plans for us. But, I imagine I'll just keep going and keep working with people like Aspen, keep collaborating with people, keep making music, keep leveling up my own skills, keep hopefully inspiring other artists to make mettawave tracks. I've worked with a few people who made tracks like this, and just let it spread in that way. And it can be what you want. You can make metta music that's of any genre. You could make death metal or country music or something if you want to. But I really like progressive trance. I really like deep house. Those are really enjoyable. I like the other sort of like eclectic EDM genres where I'm just like, ooh, that sounds really good. And I want to hear more music like that has the intentionality of loving kindness woven into it through the sounds and the words. And I want to practice with that, not only by myself as I did in 2021, but with people. And it's so amazing when we run these metta dance parties. It varies from party to party, of course, but you can really, 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 really feel when people have that love in their heart and when that's in the room. And not only is the music reminding you of it, but the other people and the whole setting are reminding you of that. And the love that's generated together is just so much bigger than the love that I alone could generate or any one person could generate. And you can really feel it, especially if you're attuned to this, especially if you've done a lot of it. And so I always encourage people who have a regular metta practice to come to these metta dance parties and just bring all the love they can in their heart. Just bring it, because just blast it, because it's so good. And I would love this for my birthday, of just that we're doing it on my birthday in Brooklyn, and just for the love to that would be great. And I something that really inspires me is imagining that if we just keep going with this, is like playing a set for thousands and thousands of people, and not only that it's thousands of people, but that so many people in the crowd, if not everyone, knows how to have that love in their heart while dancing, and brings it. And so you can just feel this pulsation of love through the whole room, venue, concert room, whatever it is, and just feel that and just be like blown away by it. I feel pretty confident if we just keep going, if we play our cards right, and God willing, I don't die, we'll get there. Conditions, consequences, baby. So I look forward to that. And you can be part of this. You can learn to practice metta on your own. You can come to these metta dance parties. BI and I also just put out a blog post, how to run your own metta dance party. So we're only able to run 3 or 4 a year right now. Hopefully we'll figure out how to do more in the future, so long as that still feels fun and energizing and enlivening for us. But even if we do 4 or 10 a year, that's still only somewhere in that range. That's still only so many cities that we can hit, and places and countries. Right now, they've all been in America so far, and I would love to see this spread more broadly. So we put out this blog post, how to run your own metta dance party. It includes everything you need to know about how we do this. We kind of open source it and are just like, here, go, take this, run your own. Metta and love are for everybody. This isn't property of the Service Guild. If you use Heart Kisses music, you have to use it non-commercially, but it's great. It's great. And these parties are so much fun, and I would love to see more people and more places able to attend them. And have fun with this. I hope that hearing all this context is interesting to you. And I look forward to seeing how this evolves over time.